Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tim. This is another Real Ideal Gear review, and today we're looking at my Victorinox Swiss Army knife collection. This is it. This is all that I have, and I am 100% satisfied for now. That's just kind of how it goes. But really, I have all these different tools here, and the combinations that I use and things that I use them for really have these have covered all the bases I can think of, and then some. And there's some tools on there that I may not use very often, but it's nice to have them. You know, it's nice to have. But what is it? I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. That whole thing. So that's justified 9 of these, okay? And I think that phrase no longer justifies more, because my wife is like, I think you have enough of what you need or want when it comes to these knives. So we're going to go over these. We're not going to go over in detail what every tool is on each one of these, but I'm going to talk about why do I have these knives? Why do I have these multi-tools? Now, I have full-size multi-tools. I love Gerber. I'm a Gerber guy. I've carried Gerber multi-tools for decades. And I'm just kind of that, I know where things are at, and I just like the quality of the work that they put into their multi-tools. So I have those, and I use those for my lawn maintenance work. I don't use those for my day-to-day carry. So when we're looking at these knives, this is kind of my day-to-day carry stuff. I use this for pocket carry. I use this one in addition to my Gerber multi-tool. This is the Deluxe Tinker. I'm always carrying a Swiss Army knife in my pocket now. I used to not carry a Swiss Army knife in my pocket. It was just a folding knife. And that was it. And at the same time, I was like, man, I wish I had the screwdriver. I wish I had a nail file. Or I wish I had the scissors or something like that. I was like, that's a Swiss Army knife thing. So I went back to Swiss Army knives, and now it's like I know exactly what I'm looking for. And these are it. So we're going to go through this. We're going to start with the small ones. Then we're going to go into the larger ones. We'll pull these guys off the table for the moment here. And we're going to focus on the smaller ones to get things going. Now, the smaller ones, they get kind of maligned, if you ask me, because these tools have a lot going on that you really need to pay attention to, I think. The first one, obviously, is the classic. And you know, as a kid growing up, like, this is what I got in my stocking. I don't know how many times, and I'd lose one, you know, and my grandpa or somebody would get me one of these, because he was always into the old slip joint knives, and he had knives left and right. I forgot how many knives the guy had. He always had a knife on him. He was always cutting stuff open and pulling out his case. I think it was a case with the was it ivory handles. I forget what the handle was made out of, but he would pull one of those out, and it was just like, ooh, I like that, you know. And there's always a couple of knives on there, so one was sharp and one was maybe not as sharp, and you could swap back and forth. But the classic is great. Okay, it has the knife, you have the nail file with the screwdriver on the end. You just can't go wrong with that combination. You've got the scissors on the backside, and then you've got the tweezer and the toothpick. And the scissors, people, you know, it's like, what are you going to cut with the scissors that small? Well, you think about this, you can do nail work, cut on here, you cut off hangnails, cut little strings, you know, cutting along something where you don't want to necessarily stick a knife through and drag, but you want to cut along the bottom of something. It could be a thin fabric or something like that. So anyway, there's a lot of different uses for it. Toothpick and tweezer. So great knife. Now I carry this semi-regularly because it's so small. It has all the stuff on here. And when I really want to beat on something, I pull this out, especially if I'm opening a package. I'll take out the little knife and cut through the tape. Okay. It's a great little knife. Now, I pulled in the Mini Champ because I was curious about it. And I got to say, the classic, the clock is ticking as far as whether or not that one goes back into my pocket on a regular basis, because I really like the Mini Champ. The Mini Champ is awesome. Now, the Mini Champ has a few tools on here that I'm not totally sold on, like the cuticle thing, where you can push your cuticle back with this, and it's like, I don't really need that. I just use my fingernails anyway. But there's other tools on here that I like. You have the Wharncliffe type blade for very precise cutting, which I think is really helpful. You have here the nail file, but it also has the nail cleaner tool on here instead of a screwdriver. This can help you clean the nails. And I'm going through this one because we're not going to go through the rest. Let's see if I'm missing anything on here. Wait a minute, is that the knife? Nope. Let's just open these up. There's the knife, and here's the cuticle. And here is, the letter opener. Okay. It's pretty slick. It's worthwhile. I actually had a Gerber dime that had this tool on there, and I used it quite a bit when I was a superintendent for opening letters. But you have to develop the habit. If you don't have the habit, then it's really not going to amount to much. You have this awesome ruler in case you want to measure something that is, what is this? Is that an inch? That doesn't look like an inch. Anyway, inches and millimeter, whatever. Like if you want to measure something because you're doing some construction work and you want to pull out your mini champ to do that, have at it. The screwdriver tip is really what's important, I think, on here. You got a nice little flathead screwdriver on there. So that's on the one side. On the back side, you have your scissors, which is useful. You have a multi-tool, which I think is really good because of the Phillips head that's on the end. Bottle opener. I don't remember the last time I've had something to drink out of a bottle. So that's something that I don't really use. And then you have the classic knife. Okay. Now what the mini champ has that the others don't have, that's built into it and you won't lose it, is a pen. So you move this little slider right here and you get a little pen that comes out and it's all ready to go. I can write sign checks. And I got to tell you something, I really like that tool. Now this is one of the tools, the pen, that helps me say to the champ, or I'm sorry, to the classic, I don't know if I'm going to have you around much longer. It might be a see you later moment. Okay. Not to mention with you have the little multi-tool on here. Now it's thicker and it's significantly thicker. It's like twice as thick, almost twice as thick as the classic. So keep that in mind. You know, if you're going for really, really compact, then the classic might be it. But if you're going for something with a few more tools, the mini champ, I think, is the way to go. Now, the surprise of this trio has to be the nail clip. Now, we're not going to go through all these things because we've already gone through most of the tools that are on here. But the nail clip has the nail file. It has the knife. Let's see here. Where's the nail file? Again, it does not have the screwdriver tip on it. It just has the nail file. It has, let's see here, the scissors in the back. The scissors is worth talking about because if you'll notice, it has a different spring-loaded system on here, and it's a serrated blade. I had a guy comment not too long ago. He asked me, what do you think of that serrated blade on the scissors? And I didn't even know they were serrated. So I went and looked at it. I was like, sure enough, they're serrated. I was more impressed with the spring-loaded system on here than the serrations on here. And I said, you know what? The serrations don't bother me a bit. Maybe cutting paper, you hear it more, but it still cuts great. But this is great for cutting things like something like a tag of skin or whatever that needs to be cut off. The serrations just does it a little bit better. Okay. You have the toothpick and you also have the tweezer. Now you don't, by the way, you don't have the toothpick on the mini champ. You just have the tweezer, which I'm okay with. I really want the tweezer. The tweezer is great. With the nail clip, you get the nail clipper. And the nail clipper is awesome because you press this little tab right here and it lifts it up for you. Okay, pull it open, flip this over, and you got your nail clipper. And I just did my nails today. I'm not kidding you. I did the nails today. Used the clipper, does a great job. And I took out the file on here and filed all my nails down so everything's nice and smooth, doesn't catch on anything. And I got to tell you, this is the best travel setup for nails that as a matter of fact, I'm using this on a weekly basis to take care of my nails. On a weekly basis, I'm always tearing a nail or maybe a nail is splitting or something. My finger and my skin gets dry because of the work that I do. This has replaced my typical nail clipper setup. Love it. Okay. I think this is a shocker. If you don't have a nail clip, get one, at least for travel purposes. You don't need to bring the nail clipper, the file, and all the other stuff that I usually throw in my the little bag, the travel bag. I just have this, and it's awesome. It has everything that I need on there. All right, and we're going to step up to the bigger ones, and we're going to go through these. We're going to go through them kind of quick because, generally speaking, they have just added tools or maybe swapped tools. But we'll go through the classic or the compact here first, just to get an idea of where they're at. You've got a large knife, and typically you have a smaller knife, but the compact does not have it. By the way, the compact is a great, great knife. I carry this one when I want to go big, but I also want to go compact, something thin, and I'll carry this. You have the combination tool, really. This is a can opener / bottle opener. I'm not sure about the can opener part. I don't think it's quite sharp enough down here for can opener, but I think it's a combination can opener and bottle opener, but I don't know. It probably works. I just have never tried this one. I've tried the other ones that are a little bit sharper edge right here on the can opener side. But this is a combi tool. All right, and you got the scissors on here as well. Let's see here. Here's the massive scissors, which, by the way, these are great scissors. Again, I prefer the spring-loaded system off of this set right here, just to show you the difference between the two. And you can see I prefer this system. I think that's a more robust looking system. Okay, and that's just based off looks. I don't know what the engineering is that goes into that. Great scissors. Plus scales. Plus scales mean you have a pen, you have a toothpick, and you also have a tweezer. That's part of the plus scale system. This one also has corkscrew. It has the eyeglass thing. It also has the needle on here. Now this one, this is something that really resonates with me because you know how much I like to have a nail file. This is one of the few tools that has the nail file, or one of the few knives that has the nail file on the back of the parcel hook. I like the parcel hook. It's great for camping. I can grab a ridge line or a line for a tent, hook it on here, pull it tight, and yeah, it works great. But it has a nail file on here just to take care of your nails so it doesn't get worse. Okay, really important. So to me, that's kind of the basics. I carry this when I want to go slim. Next up. This is what I carry with me when I'm working on lawn maintenance work. With my Gerber multi-tool, I carry the Tinker, primarily because of this tool. I'm carrying it because it has the Phillips screwdriver, and it's a regular size Phillips screwdriver. I use this almost weekly. There's a warning light that I have on one of the mowers where the screws loosen up every now and then, and I just go in there and I give them a half turn or a quarter turn. It tightens things back up, and I use this tool to do it almost every week. It has a parcel hook. It has the useless awl and sewing needle, unless you're surviving. Okay, that makes more sense, but really this doesn't do much. I have never used it, never. Now this one, you have two knives. You have the small knife, you have the big knife, bottle opener, can opener, and two different pieces here. But what I really like about this is the pliers. You really got to consider this on the Deluxe Tinker, because the narrowness of this pliers, getting into small spaces and grabbing things. Now this may not be something I'm really going to torque on, loosening bolts and nuts and things like that. I'm not doing that with this. It's like a needle nose pliers to reach in and grab something, grab a wire, grab something that's in a tight spot or something like that. It also has fairly good grip strength. Now you can open this wide. Look how wide you can open this. Okay. Small bolt heads and things like that, you're going to get that on here. But you're going to get some pretty good leverage on this, more so than just using your fingertips. Okay, you're going to get more leverage on here. And you can really crank on it. You get this in your hand, you can crank on this and turn it. And I've done that, okay? And I've done that where I've reached in and grabbed it. So I like this tool a lot. This is why I carry this with me with work. Now, I don't carry this outside of work. It has tools on here that I just don't find as useful on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so I don't carry this really any other time than during the lawn mowing season, which is about 7 months out of the year. So those are the two that I have here. The one that I have been carrying for a long time is the Huntsman. The Huntsman has almost all those tools, with the exception of the pliers and the Phillips head. The Phillips head is swapped over for a corkscrew, and instead of a pliers, I have a great saw. Now the saw on here I think is really important, because this is great not only for survival purposes. So if you're a camper, like hiking and stuff like that, this is a great tool, and it's pretty compact as well. But this is a great tool for around the house. If you're doing drywall work, you can cut a hole in drywall really easily. Cardboard boxes that are thicker, like 1/4 inch thick cardboard, that really heavy stuff that they use for very heavy type things that are being shipped. You can cut through that cardboard no problem with this. Thin plastics, like I'm talking like rigid type plastics, you can cut through this pretty quick as well. So don't malign the saw on here. I think the saw is actually a great backup and maybe a primary cutting tool when it comes to heavy duty stuff, rather than using your large blade knife. Okay, so that's what I like about the Huntsman. Next up, the Ranger. The Ranger, I think, has displaced my Huntsman because the Ranger has the same thing. It has the saw. All right, so I can do all the things I just mentioned. And what this has that none of these other tools except the compact, the nail clip, and the classic has is a file. Now this is a file that you can use on metal and on wood. It has a file on the bottom edge here. It's smooth on the top, but it has a file on both sides. And I can file a nail very easy with this, using the flat side against my skin, and take care of my nails. I'm just neurotic about it. You guys get the picture, okay? Now, this one has regular scales on it, but I'm going to swap out for plus scales. And if I didn't show you already, These have the plus scales where you have the pen. I've swapped out the toothpick for a ferrocerium rod, okay? And then it also has a tweezer. And if you're paying attention, you'll see that down here is my toothpick. And I cut this, not real hard to do. I cut this in the scales before I installed them and made sure that that toothpick fit in there. So I still have my toothpick, ferro rod, pen, and tweezer on plus scales. And I've also added another pin, so I can carry 2 pins. And I've also added a magnet. I don't know if you can see the magnet right down in here. A little disc magnet. So if I need the magnet for anything, I can fish that out and use and magnetize something, okay? So this is going to be set up, the Ranger is going to be set up with the Huntsman in mind. Swap out the scales, do the plus scale thing with the toothpick down here and that whole thing. But I like this much better because I have the file on here. I've got both knives, scissors. I've got the parcel hook in the back. You also end up with a couple more flathead screws. This is actually a chisel, but you could use this as a flathead screwdriver if you want. Or the same thing goes with this. This is a smaller version. This is a flathead screwdriver. That's what it is. But those are all great tools. That's the Ranger. So I carry this when I'm not working. Okay, this is my carry, my medium-sized carry. Now, if I want to go really robust, I'm going to go with the A-Locks, the Farmer X A-Locks. No tools on the backside. It's all on top, which makes this very easy to use. Has a much thicker knife. So when I pull the knife out, the stock on here is way thicker down here. The bottom half is much thicker. The top half is the same as these other knives on the other tools on here, like the Compact and the Deluxe Tinker and all that. But right down here, you have a much stiffer spine when it comes to using this knife. It's a little bit taller as well. All right. So just a more robust knife. You have a quality reamer for cleaning out things. You can get in there and just ream things out, just clean them. You know, if there's something that's caked in there, you can get in there and get that taken care of. You have you have both can openers, and you also have the big scissors on here. You don't have the scale tools. This is probably, of all the ones that I have in my collection, this is the one that I have a harder time bringing with me because I don't have the scale tools. I don't have the tweezer. I don't have the pen. I don't have the pin, those kind of things. So this is probably the one of all of them that just doesn't get used as much. Now, last but not least is the Swiss Champ. It's the big fella. Has all the same tools as the Ranger and a couple more. It has a great Phillips screwdriver like the Deluxe Tinker, but this is not quite as thick. It doesn't take up quite as much space, but it's a great Phillips screwdriver. Have both can openers. You have the pliers on here. You also have the saw. You have the file, which is right here. Okay, there's the file. It also has a fish scaler, which I don't care about. Both knives. On the back side, the same stuff that you have on the Ranger. Now, this has plus scales on here. Probably shouldn't order plus scales because I'm going to replace these and put my own version in here. Again, saving the toothpick, put a ferrocerium rod in that, the whole thing. Now, what about carrying this? I carry this in my pocket. The people say you can't pocket carry this. I pocket carry this knife. This is not something that you should avoid pocket carrying. It's big. And when I'm carrying the Swiss Champ, I'm almost always carrying one of these two guys as kind of my smaller versions. You know, I don't want to search for something. I just want to cut something open real quick. I'm going to grab the little knife on here, like open a box, and use these. If I have something like, let's see here, the nail file, I'll probably use the nail file on here rather than this big file right here. This just is kind of overkill. Okay, that's what I do. I combine these, and I'll take a big one, I'll take the big Swiss Champ, and I'll combine it with one of these smaller Victorinoxes. Okay. If I carry the Farmer X A-Locks, I'll almost always carry the nail clip with me because it has everything, the hygiene side that I need, and this has all the beefy stuff that I want as well. Okay. Now, what you're seeing here is the pattern, and that is that when I carry one of the larger versions of the knives, I'm almost always carrying one of the smaller ones. The exception being is the Compact. The Compact really does kind of cover most of the territory because it has the nail file on here. This one doesn't. The Ranger does. The Deluxe Tinker doesn't. The Huntsman doesn't. The A-Locks doesn't have it. The Swiss Champ does. So these three don't have a file of any kind on there. All right. This one does, the Swiss Champ does, and also the Compact does. The Mini Champ doesn't have a nail file or a file of any kind. So when it comes to just kind of that whole setup, I'm looking for the scissors, the knife. I'm looking for some tools like a flathead screwdriver. The file is another piece that I really want to make sure I have with me. Those are the things that I'm almost always carrying. So if I have one of these, I might be carrying one of these. And oftentimes it's going to be the Mini Champ because it just goes well with these larger knives. Okay, so that's what I do when it comes to carrying. That's why I carry, why I have the tools that I have. And really there's a tool on its way out. It's probably the Huntsman. And if I would say another one, it's probably the Classic. These are probably on their way out. The one that I don't use very often is the Alox because it doesn't have the scale tools. These are the ones that I use the most right here. It is the Deluxe Tinker, the Ranger, the Compact, the Swiss Champ, the Nail Clip, and then also the Mini Champ. I use these the most, and these are the guys that are really, I would say, we'll put the Alox over. I just haven't given this a fair shot. But the Huntsman and the Classic, they've kind of gotten pushed to the side. So I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about your Victorinoxes. What do you carry? Do you carry more than one? Should you carry more than one? Maybe I'm overkill on this one, but I like the idea of having options that give me a little something extra. Now, do I also carry a folding knife that goes along with it? What do you think? Yes, I do. And if I carry a folding knife, then I'm probably going down the route of carrying a smaller Victorinox or the Compact. Okay. One of these three are the ones that I'm going to be carrying as a result of that. So there you go. That's kind of the insight as to why I carry, how I carry it, and the knives that I have here, the multi-tools that I have here. So I'm curious to see what you have to say about it. And yeah, just leave the comments down below. Check out my webpage, realidealgear.com, for any reviewed gear, watches, knives, flashlights. Typically flashlights go real fast, but I've got one that's, I think I'm going to have to mark it down. It's a night core, and nobody's picked it up yet. It's like over half off. And I've only reviewed it and used it probably a total of 4 days, and it's just been sitting in the bedroom here in a box. So check out that kind of stuff. The reviewed gear, it's just a way to get something that's cheap, and everything that I sell works. Yeah, it's been reviewed, it's been used, but it's not been used in a way that is abused or anything like that. So just keep that in mind. But that's realidealgear.com. There you go. My name's Tim. This has been another Real Ideal Gear review. Let me know what you think. We'll catch you guys next time.